Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network. Excited to have back today our psychotherapist that specializes in the mental health and treatment of children and adolescents. Kary Valdes joining us here from Parent Talk with Kary. And again, excited to have her here from Nashville, Tennessee, helping so many. Welcome back. How are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing great. Mom life, just getting by here, working, and beautiful weather in New York the past few days. I'm sure still the same in Nashville as well. Quite warmer than we expected, right?
Yes, but it's beautiful. I'll take it.
I know. Well, please introduce yourself for new-time listeners and viewers that are tuning in today.
Okay, so I am Kary Valdes, and I do Parent Talk with Kary. On my website is parenttalkwithkary.com. If you want to reach me, and I do parenting, individual therapy, family therapy, anything that has to do with children is how I can be helpful.
Great. And how can we find you? What is your website?
It's parenttalkwithkary.com.
Perfect. All right. And by the way, just a little bit of your background, why you got into this field since they missed it last week. Clearly, you're great at what you do. What brought you here to start working with children and adolescents the way you do?
So I've actually been one of those people who always just knew what they were supposed to do in life. I've always wanted to work with kids. That was what I focused on in grad school. I focused on in my internship, and then went right into working with kids and have not stopped.
Amazing. Well, we're glad you're here today talking to us, and let's get into some questions. With children, adolescents, even adults, bedtimes are very hard, right? And I deal with this. I have a 7 and 9-year-old, 2 boys, and there's a lot of arguing that goes on at night and meltdowns. And no matter what I do, and I try to change my behavior, and it's not working well. So I'm hoping you can give me some guidance and clarity on this, and I'm sure I'm not alone. Many people probably have trouble with this. Could you share a little bit about this?
Yeah, so I actually call this the witching hour. Like, there is a small window of time that we have in families from the time we get off of work and the kids get out of school that we have a lot to get done in this small window, right? So in this small window of time, we're hungry and we're tired, right? So you throw that in for all the participants in the family is hunger and tired. And we have a lot to do, right? And depending on what time your kiddo goes to bed makes a difference as to how quickly we're moving. And sometimes they're not in the mood to move quickly. You know what I mean? Sometimes they're not up for all this. Okay, now hurry up and go get your clothes off. We got to go get your shower, and we got to finish your homework, and we got to do, right? It's a lot that happens that night.
Yeah.
So being mindful of that is important, right? Knowing that, and I have clients that are like, we don't know why you told us this and you were right, but you were, because Thursday nights are hard.
Mm-hmm.
Thursday nights can be hard in families because they're tired, right? Because Friday's the last day of the week. They're tired. Kids get stressed. Just how we do. So it's one of those things where I kind of ask parents to make plan. If Thursdays are bad, make it like breakfast for dinner. Make it the casserole night so that you can be more present, because it's shocking how moms and dads can kind of have the temperature of the house. Like you are kind of in charge of the temperature. So the more easygoing and smiley and fun you are, the more the night is going to be easier.
So true, right?
Tired too. You know what I mean? Like, this is hard for us because we're tired. Like, we work and then we got to come home and do all the things in order to satisfy the family needs and food and bedtime and all that. So bedtime is really an important part of the day, right? Like, this is when we get to wind down with our kids. This is when a lot of times kids get chattier at bedtime, right? Which is not the best moment because we're trying to get them to go to sleep. But it's also the time where we get to just kind of be with them again.
Yeah.
I like parents, especially your kids' age, right? When my boys were your age, we would get in bed and we would read at night, right?
Yeah.
I would read to them. Most of the time I would read to them. When they started getting older, they would read to me. But it was more about us being together, and it helped everybody settle, right? Like the goal is we can put them to sleep and they're like happy and content and feel loved so that they sleep really well and they have good dreams, right? And they wake up refreshed. So yelling your kids to sleep doesn't work. And all of us have actually done that. You know what I mean? Just go to bed. Get back in your bed. Go.
So true, right? Oh my gosh. Yep. It happens every night. Yeah.
Like, and it sounds ridiculous when I say it out loud, right? You kind of like, do I yell my kids to sleep? But I've done it.
Yeah.
Right? We yell at them to go to bed. This is not effective, but we still do it, right? So I'm trying to help parents. And I actually do this a lot with most of my therapy clients. I talk to them about how to put their kids to sleep, but I also talk to them about waking them up, right? And these are two big parts of the day, right? It's like, especially if they've had a bad day. If they've had a lot going on or they're really stressed and there's been a meltdown or they're just stressed about school and life, as you start talking about older kids, it's important that we can reconnect. Like they still need us. They still need mom and dad like help them. The younger they are, the more they need us to help them self-regulate, to help them calm their little bodies and get in bed and lay down. And even if it's like, oh, we're so glad we're here in bed, right? Aren't you so glad? It's time for a book. It's been a day, you guys. And then we read. And then depending on what your family believes and what y'all do, like you say prayers and we talk about, our hopes for the day or what we hope for tomorrow or that kind of what we're grateful for, that kind of stuff. And then we just kind of lay with them for a little. Depending on you, each parent is different. I laid with mine until they went to sleep, right? I would end up falling asleep. I'd wake up at midnight. I'd be up all night. But I also know that the shortest part of their life is childhood. We spend most of our life in adulthood. Yeah. So I knew that this window of getting to be with these babies was shrinking every day, right?
Oh my gosh.
I was not going to be able to lay with them. And in all honesty, it happens like around middle school, right? 6th, 7th, 8th grade, they naturally, and it should be just the natural kind of, Mom, I'm going to go upstairs and go study, right? Where they hug you goodnight, they kiss you goodnight, they go to bed. We got to the point where my kids were kissing me goodnight, right? They were still up. They were still up studying. They still had stuff to do because their lives got so much busier. And they'd come tuck me in. And it was great. I'm like, this is nice. So the bedtime, it's important to just kind of be with them and regroup and think of it as, so my kids have good sleep and they go to bed knowing how loved they are, even when it's a bad day.
Wow.
And then they'll wake up. So I've had clients that have talked to me about how mornings are crazy, right? Again, we're the same thing. We have a short amount of time to get a lot of stuff done, right? So in the morning when we wake them up, I have asked parents, I'm like, you need to get up a little earlier. Yeah. And I want you to go get in bed with them or wake them up slow, right?
Okay, I always do that. I'm like, get up. No, that's wrong. I should not be yelling at them, right? Okay.
Right. You're yelling them awake, right? So you're causing anxiety and stress. And sometimes they get a little angry, right? They're mad at you for doing that. I had a dad who used to do that. He would wake up his son. And at the time, the son was in kindergarten, right? And he would go in the room, flip the light on, tell him it's time to get up, and let's go. Let's go. It's time to get up. Flip the light on, and he'd leave. And then he was like, the mornings were terrible. They would argue. Yeah. The 5-year-old was grumpy, the whole bit. So I'm like, okay, can we try this? Would you try getting up 15 minutes earlier and just go and get into bed with him and just get in and just start talking to him about the day. Like, it's time to get up, rub his little back, talk about the day, talk about the weather. It's going to be real cold today. You're going to have to wear, we're going to have to get your big coat today, or it's going to be really hot. You can maybe wear your shorts today, or, just talking about nonsense, letting them wake up slow, then getting up out of bed. They're kind of moving too. He did this, and the mornings completely shifted.
Wow.
The little boy was able to get going. He wasn't grumpy. He was more cooperative. He was more independent.
Wow.
Doing things, getting himself dressed, fixing his hair, going downstairs for breakfast. You know what I mean? Like,
I know. I get it.
Because there was more time. Like, you don't like being yelled awake.
No,
like,
I don't.
I always liked it when my dad would wake me up, because my dad would come in. I swear, I had to be in high school still. He wasn't always there in the mornings when I would get up, but on those mornings, he would come in and he's like, "Oh, you ready to go learn your ABCs?" And I'm in high school, and I'm like,
"You're like, sure."
I'm like, "You're so cute, fix it." Because my mom was a little grumpier about it, right? Come on, get up, that kind of stuff. But it does make a difference.
It sure does. Well, one gets up easy for me, happy-go-lucky. The other one is like grumpy, and then I get grumpy, and I should not do that. You're right. I have to change my ways. I've tried everything from playing music to blowing whistles. That's probably bad. Always trying to get them excited, telling them the weather and what the plans are for the day, and, giving them as much time. But also, we have a problem like with going to sleep and that whole routine, because I'll be honest with you, and you might disagree with me, but Kary, I've been a single mom since my first son was born, right? And I had him by myself, so there's no other parent, and I co-sleep. And guilty, but there's been no other man in my house, though my men are in my bed with me, and we still sleep together. So it's hard for me, because now it's like, well, mommy wants to stay up and watch TV, and I can't because they were in the bed. And so I feel like that's a little bit of a struggle, and I would love to learn how to wean out of that, but that's a whole nother show.
Yeah, and that is something. It also helps with them to be more independent.
Yeah.
When they can sleep in their bed, it can be more independent. And here's something I did with my boys. Your boys are the same age as my boys, right? My boys were 2 years apart, too.
Yeah.
But the rule was that they could get in each other's bed. They just could not come to my bed unless they were sick. You know what I mean? Because, kids, if they're getting sick, they're getting sick.
Yeah.
Unless they were sick or they had a bad dream, like where they needed assistance. Ooh. But if they were just waking up in the night, they needed to go to each other. Go get in bed with your brother.
I like that.
Right? And they did it great. My little one traveled every night for a couple of years into his bed with his brother.
Aww.
They don't disturb each. You know how kids sleep? They just sleep. Right? They don't notice when somebody else gets in the bed with them.
Yeah.
Whereas they get disturbed. I mean, a foot in the face does not feel good to me. I wake up at night when I have kids in the bed. But they don't wake up. They can sleep with each other fine, especially at that age.
Well, I like this idea. Thank you so much. I'm excited to try this once I get them in their own bed. But I know we have so much still more to talk about. The arguing between ourselves and the kids with each other. Also, consequences. Where do we head to next, Kary? Sorry.
There's so much. So what do you feel is going to be most helpful for you even? Because this could be fun.
Well, as far as...
stop with the consequences. What do you think?
Well, I'm a firm believer in taking away the iPad, because I feel like that's their biggest love. Unfortunately, I think it is at this point. So my consequence, if they're not doing their homework, if they don't listen to me, I take away the iPad. And it actually works pretty well.
Yeah. And that is usually what people do. They take away the electronics. Timeout is still effective depending upon the age of the child, right? Removing the excitement or stimuli from the room.
Yeah.
Right? You know what I mean? Like, they need to be by themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if they're having a tantrum, and sometimes they still do, you know what I mean? I need tantrums to be gone probably around kindergarten-ish. But every once in a while, if they still have a tantrum, it's still kind of age appropriate, because we got to think about why. Like, are they hungry and are they tired? And if it's one of those two things, that's about us, not about them. Right? So that tantrum, we just call a wash. We help them get through it, and we move on. Right? But consequences can be timeout, taking away things, electronics, that kind of stuff. Consequences can also be doing things, extra things like chores.
I like that.
You and I, because my goal is to make parents' lives better and more fun, right? So we don't have to worry and we have fun. So what do you not like to do that your child can do as a consequence, right? Do you not like doing toilets?
I was going to say
toilets are old enough to wash toilets. You have to teach them how to do it, and then you put them on toilet duty, right? Or they have to load the dishwasher or unload the dishwasher. Your kids are old enough. At kindergarten, they can do pretty much unload and load the dishwasher. If your kids can climb to get the cookies at the top of the cabinet, they can put dishes away.
Yeah.
Right? They can do all these things. But with consequences, I would add stuff. They have to run. Running would be a great thing. Exercise. That is a great thing too. Now, let's not go crazy. We're not going to do it to, an excess. But a lot of times when kids are stuck in emotion or anger, and they're just being turds, basically. They're just like in a bad mood. And we don't necessarily know what happened during the day. Like, we don't have all the information about their day. And they come home and they're still grumpy or upset, right? And not following directions and all that. A lot of times running or doing anything that's right, left.
Oh.
Right? Running, jumping, swimming, riding their bike. Pretty much all the stuff that kids do when they play outside. That helps to cross over from being stuck in emotion, crosses it over into intellect.
Wow.
So then it's almost like they run their sillies out or they play it out and they actually do feel better, right? It's the same is true for adults, right? If you happen to be a runner or know friends that are runners, if they don't run or do this physical thing, they are more amped up. Like they don't get the release that, the endorphin release is there, but they don't get the emotional release that this physical running does. And it actually does cross over. It helps them cross over. This right, left activity crosses it over into intellect, so they're not just stuck in their emotions anymore. Ooh. So giving them things to do as opposed to always taking away is an option, right? And sometimes we don't always have to give a consequence. Sometimes there has been a natural consequence. Like if you think about school stuff, the consequence is that they missed recess.
True.
And they have to do extra work at school or, something like that. That's their consequence. And then we're just kind of like sad for them.
Yeah.
Like, oh, gosh, I know you hate missing recess. I mean, that's like the best part of the day. And I even do a little, I dig it in a little bit. Oh, and I bet your friends played football and it was so good.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I hate that you missed that. Tomorrow will be better.
You're so good. I need you at my house.
Right. And remember, I'm outside of it. I had to live through it too. And I would get frustrated and tired. I did all the same things, right? Coming home from work and being tired is still coming home from being tired. And then I have to cook, and I don't like cooking, right? This is not something I like to do. So that in of itself would just annoy me. And then I'm tired in this short window of time to get stuff done. But be creative with consequences. We don't have to do the same one all the time. Think of a consequence that works for you.
Okay.
Don't make consequences that you can't do. Like, we can't punish them from the pad or all electronics, including TV, for a week if nobody gets to watch TV. Like, that's not going to work, right? Like, you need to make sure you can do it. Whatever the consequence is, that it's not going to affect your life in a negative way or your other son's life in a negative.
It's so true. Oh, my goodness. Well, thank you for sharing that. All right. What else do we have to talk about? There's still so much more. Hope we can get to it. But, what about, when do we teach values and life lessons?
So, and this one's hard because when they are misbehaving, that's when we're like fussing and telling them, this is not how we're a good friend. And I can't believe you did that. And why would you think this is okay? We don't hit others. We don't do that. And remember, it is actually normal that littles do still hit each other.
Yeah.
We do correct that. We don't want them hitting people as a solution to problems, right? That's not going to work later in life. That does not work, right? But in that moment, nobody's listening. Everybody's angry. We're all upset. This is not the time to teach life lessons and to talk about values. We teach life lessons and we talk about values when things are good. So this is like car rides, bath time, dinner time. When things are good, right, is when we talk about life lessons, like how are we a good friend?
Mm-hmm.
We look for in a friend, right? And then it's a conversation and not a lecture, right? Like you then get to know what your kids think. And kids' thoughts are sometimes really fascinating when it comes to lessons and how to be friends and things that you value, what's important to you, and what do you think about that? And giving them an opportunity to give feedback is so fun because then you kind of know them. Like you get to know like who they are and what their beliefs are at a really young age, right? Which is so fascinating. So I encourage parents to do that all the time. Bath time is another great place. You're probably not still bathing kids, but you're mingling. Like you might still be around in their space, like getting their pajamas,
help. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Like that kind of stuff. This is a good time to talk about things like their body and who gets to touch their body, right? And keeping them safe that way. Like nobody gets to touch you in your private. And that conversation should happen until they get frustrated and annoyed. Like we know.
We know. Yes. Mm-hmm.
And then you can just kind of laugh and go, I know. I just want to make sure that you guys are safe. And we just laugh about it and you kind of move on. And then you bring it up again if you feel like you need to. That kind of thing. But like think about it as a conversation and not a lecture. So when we're mad and we're fighting, that's not the time for a life lesson.
No, it's not.
And then even after, like, say they have to go in timeout. Yeah. They have to go away, right? When they come back, that's still not the time to talk about, now, do you know what you did? And what are you going to do now? Like, that's not the time.
Yeah.
Right? It's still, we need to, if they did not learn the lesson, they'll do it again. And they'll have the opportunity to learn it. It's almost like that beating the dead horse kind of thing. Like, if they didn't learn what they did wrong in that moment, wait, and they'll do it again, and they'll have the opportunity to learn it again. Because remember, we learn faster on our own, right, than when somebody tells us.
So true. We do.
I told you not to do that. I said not to do that. Didn't I say not to do that? And those words are never helpful. Told you so is never helpful.
No, it's not. It makes you angry.
Yes, it makes everybody angry. So I would just wait and then have conversations about like the general topic of why they were in trouble. Why is it important for you guys to listen sometimes when mom tells you so? Why is it important for you guys to listen to the teachers and the grown-ups around you? Why do y'all think that is? And see what they have to say about it when things are good. Well, because mom, we know that you're trying to keep us safe. Okay. If they know that, then that's great, right? Then you're not the bad guy anymore. Right? You are doing things to try to keep them safe. So it's great. You know what I mean? Why are we supposed to listen to teachers or be quiet in class? You know, and then they can say, well, so we can hear. But then you have both the boys or all the kids talking about why that's important to be quiet in class.
Yeah, it's so true. You're right. You got me thinking today. I have to change my perspective as a parent. I know that's hard for us listening out there today, but a lot of it does stem from us.
Right.
Our own behaviors. Yeah.
And we do parent the way we were parented. Right? Like this, because it was role modeled for us. Yeah. And if you know, right, that your parents did not do the best job, and I don't mean you, Jill.
Yeah,
I just mean
in general. No, I get it.
That your parents did not do a good job, then studying, learning, reading, doing something like that to learn how to do it different is going to be better because you don't have the foundation that you need to be a good parent and to do it different. And if you want your kids to be good parents, you have to learn how to do it different if your parents weren't the best.
Got it. Wow. Totally. You're so right. All right, we're just about out of time. We got 2 minutes left on the clock. How did you want to leave off for today with our parents, with our adolescents, our children, and what are the benefits of working with you in particular? Would you mind sharing? Because I know you got great stories. I've heard some last time how you're helping people. What would you want to say to everyone listening today?
So if you are struggling with parenting, and I've had a couple of clients reach out this week that they're just like, they have little ones and they're not sure what they're doing. This is an easier scheduling on Zoom for us to do parenting. I can work with people all over the world. As long as there isn't a language barrier, right? I can do that. And it can be like a couple of sessions where we just tweak a couple of things that's happening in the house and the whole house settles. The temperature goes down. There's more happiness and less arguing in the family. And that's a really good thing, but it doesn't take like years of therapy to do that. Like, I don't want people to think that they're in it for the long haul. Parenting stuff can be quick, right? We do a session and we wait, you implement the things that we talk about.
True.
We do a session and we check in to see what's working and what's not working. Then we do more and then we wait and then we do another session and then we see. And then usually the parents are like, we're good. And I'm like, right. Yeah. So I would reach out if you're struggling, because sometimes it doesn't take a whole lot to make a huge difference in your family.
Got it. Well, thank you so much. And how can we reach out to you?
So the easiest way is through my website at parenttalkwithkary.com. You can certainly email me, but all that should be on the website. You can call me. Everything should be there. But my email address is KaryValdes, LCSW @gmail.com.
Perfect. Thank you so much. And looking forward to the next time we connect. And by the way, I know you're based out of Nashville, but you're working with people all over via this platform, right? Like Zoom on the phone. Yeah. It's easy, breezy that way. Well, thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me so much, Jill.
Well, pleasure to have you back. And hopefully we will chat again soon. Thanks so much.
Great. Thanks.
Bye, Kary.
Right.
Bye.
Parenting can be so hard. Sometimes we just get stumped and have no idea what to do. We have no idea what to say or how to respond. Or we don't know what to do with this behavior. And sometimes nothing seems to be working. My name is Kary Valdes, and I have been working with children and families for over 25 years. If you are feeling stumped and like your parenting skills aren't working, please reach out to me at parenttalkwithkary.com.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
Of course my kid's in the right car seat. Well, I think he is.
Yeah, my kid's in a booster seat. He was ready to move up. He is ready, right?
Her car seat looks like the right size.
There are probably rules on when to move up to a booster seat, aren't there?
Rear facing, forward facing. I think I have it right.
Car crashes are a leading killer of children 1 to 13. Are your children in the right car seat for their age and size? Don't think you know you know. Go to safercar.gov/the right seat.
I know my child's in the right car seat, or else I wouldn't get in the driver's seat.
Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.